When Peter Welch begins his questioning, he's not just nitpicking past actions, he's trying to establish a pattern. The first part of his line of questioning focuses on recusal, which is one of the most important ethical safeguards in the judiciary. In simple terms, recusal is when a judge steps away from a case because they may have a conflict of interest. It's not optional in spirit. It's essential to maintaining trust in the courts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to follow up, Ms. Westerkamp, on this conflict of interest question and recusal. I mean, you worked, of course, in the White House, and you worked on the trade policies and the tariffs. Is that correct?
Senator, I worked on, as I disclosed in my Senate Judicial Questionnaire, various executive orders and proclamations.
You had nothing to do with the tariffs?
We don't open.
Senator, some of the executive orders, as I said, executive orders related to trade and tariffs.
Right. So, and that was obviously an enormous pillar of the Trump policy. Tariffs are really, really important to the administration, as you know. The court that you'll be serving on, should you be confirmed, found that those were unconstitutional, correct?
The CIT, with a 3-judge panel, yes, held that it was unconstitutional.
Right, and the U.S. Supreme Court affirmed that decision and said the CIT decided correctly, correct?
That is correct, Senator.
All right, so just explain to me how there's any question about whether you should recuse yourself. You worked in the White House, where a major policy of the White House was the promotion of tariffs, and now you'd be sitting on a court where they found those tariffs unconstitutional. And should there be further litigation about these tariffs, you cannot tell us today whether you would recuse yourself in view of the fact that you were an advocate for the tariffs in one case and now you'd be on a court that found those tariffs to be unconstitutional?
Again, Senator, I would take recusal very seriously. In terms of recusing for any matters, executive orders that I worked on, I believe the president had actually revoked those executive orders via another executive order after the Supreme Court's IEPA decision.
It's impossible for me to understand this. I mean, you worked for a client on a policy that has been determined to be unconstitutional. You had a right to do that. Obviously, the president made his decision. You were his advocate. But now you're on a court where that court and the Supreme Court has said those are unconstitutional, and there's going to be questions about refunding those tariffs. In fact, there are questions about that right now. And you can't just make a clear expression to us about whether you would or would not recuse yourself when you were on both sides of the issue?
Senator, I think it would not be inappropriate to grade my own work, so to speak. And so, yes, I would, for specific matters that I worked on in the White House, would recuse myself. And I would add that the refund litigation is actively before, I think it's Judge Eaton in the Court of International Trade. And so it would be inappropriate for me to comment on how that is proceeding.
I want to ask you about a couple of tweets. George Papadopoulos, who tweeted out, there are but two parties now, traitors and patriots. And as you know, he's a former advisor to President Trump. And my understanding is you retweeted that out. Did you do that?
Senator, I don't have Twitter in front of me right now. I take you at your word that I had tweeted that. And as I stated previously, I think that retweeting from people that I don't know, including the gentleman you just mentioned, is an inappropriate way to express oneself on any controversial political or matter.
Retweeting is an indication that you want to amplify what you read in the tweet, right? That's why people retweet, correct?
Senator, I believe so.
Right. Well, who are the traitors and who are the patriots?
This is in your file.
Senator, again, I think that this, as a judicial nominee, it would be inappropriate for me to comment on the topic of controversial subject matter, and I have apologized for...
It's unbelievable. I'm asking you, you'd retweeted something, all right? You made an active decision to amplify a tweet. You thought other people should see it. That tweet included patriots and traitors. So I'm asking you, when you retweeted that, who in your mind were the patriots and who in your mind were the traitors?
Senator, I don't have any context for that, and I have apologized for
I'm not asking
retweeting.
you for context. You did this. You did it. You hit send. So who are the patriots and who are the traitors?
And Senator, I don't have an answer for you.
Unbelievable. On November 14th, you retweeted a post by an account, CamVTV. The tweet read, in part, quote, big distinction between us and the party of hate.
You have the final.
Who is the party of hate?
Senator, again, first of all, I'm out of time, but I also, as I said, don't agree with everything that has been retweeted in the past.
Do you agree with anything you did in the past?
Um,
You have to figure that out.
Senator, as to your specific question, I don't have an answer for you.
My time is up. Thank you.
So why does this matter here? Because the nominee previously worked in the White House on policies related to tariffs policies that were later ruled unconstitutional. That creates a very real tension. On one hand, she was an advocate for those policies. On the other, she may now be in a position to rule on cases involving those same issues or their consequences, like refund litigation. Welch is trying to get a clear answer to a simple question. Can someone fairly judge a policy they previously helped defend?